I love ceramic. Like I would buy like ancient old like Tang Dynasty, Qing Dynasty like porcelain, but like
Mm.
99.9% of other kids like my age wouldn't do that because like the aesthetic, the lifestyle, it just doesn't fit, right? So I was like, it's such amazing craft, such a beautiful material, and it's such an important part of like Chinese history. You know, like Chinese people invented porcelain, and like everyone else tried to figure out how to make porcelain for hundreds of years, and they couldn't. You know, so like we had a recipe for so long, but now Chinese porcelain is like the least be appreciated porcelain in the world.
Welcome to another captivating episode of Cultural Collision 北腔南调. I'm Victoria.
I'm EJ.
In today's discussion, we have a special guest, Jackie Chen, the visionary founder behind a useful ceramic brand, IMFRAGILE, that's redefining the landscape of ceramic art pieces. With a focus on contemporary ceramics and artistic collectibles, Jackie's journey is both inspiring and intriguing. Let's delve into his story, his experiences straddling education between the US and China, his work trajectory upon returning, and the reasons driving his venture into the ceramic world. Welcome, Jackie.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
It's so good to see you again, Jackie.
Yeah, excited to see you. Has been a
Um,
while.
it has. So interestingly, your brand is called IMFRAGILE. I don't know if you know, like not that long ago, there's that I guess it's still popular K-pop song, Anti-Fragile. Do you know that song?
I'm not big into K-pop. I thought you were gonna say something else, but like,
Okay.
yeah. But I would
Maybe you
definitely
can
check it out. I should check it out. Yeah.
maybe you can use it for some branding or a TikTok video sound or something. It's pretty
Thanks.
catchy.
Yeah,
It's pretty catchy.
that's a good idea. Yeah, I would definitely check it out. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. Yeah.
So where are you now?
I'm in Jingdezhen, you know, like the ceramic capital of China, of the world. Some people say that, you know.
Mhm. Is that where you're full time now?
I would say
Or is that
like,
just where your
yeah,
studio is?
this is like where I design like most of my product, you know, like, this is like for production mostly, you know, so I would spend like 75% of my time here. Like I would do the prototype and I would like design the mass production process, and I would train like craftsmen come in and teach them how to turn this one prototype into a couple hundred units. And once that is done, sometimes I would go to, you know, Shanghai, go to Shenzhen, go to Beijing to attend like conference, to attend like shows, trade shows, to meet with clients. Most of my clients are still from like tier one cities. So I
Mhm.
would go, you know, on business trips to these cities and come back, you know, check the quality of the work and, you know, ship them out to like various locations. So this is kind of like my base now, you know, but I would like go out and branch out to like other cities, even countries next year. You know, next year I have planned to go to a convention at Frankfurt, and I will probably go to Chicago next year. So
Oh my God,
yeah.
Chicago. If you go to Chicago, you better message me. If I don't get a WeChat
Oh
message
yeah.
from you, I'm gonna be upset.
No, like the second I land at Ohio, I'll definitely like message you. Even before
Sounds
that, I'll
good.
let you know. I'll let you know before I take off.
Okay, so Jackie, you've had a unique journey, education journey, attending the high school and universities in the US. So how have your experiences in the American high school and college influenced your general perspectives on education and life?
My high school was like very, I would say like supportive of like everyone's like interest, right? Before I was attending school in Haidian, right, which is like, you know, the Jiwa capital of like China. And I, I remember when I was in kindergarten, my parents would like me, you know, you gotta study piano, you gotta like attend this like math competition, all those like typical things. But like I always had an interest in, you know, hands-on craft that wasn't really I didn't even have the access to the materials, resources to support my interest. But after I attended, you know, Avon Old Firm, which was my high school, you know, all the faculty was like super supportive, and everything was kind of, well, I wanted to say everything was free for me, right? Because I wasn't paying the tuition. but like there was just so many resources and you can just use them. And my favorite places, one of my favorite places back at Avon Old Farms was the art studio. I would just go there on the weekend, use, everything and like create whatever. And no one would tell me, oh, you're using too much paint, you're using too much clay, So that was really a great opportunity for me to explore what I'm really interested in. My freshman year at Avon, I didn't even pick an art class because like I didn't like have any art or creative like official like class before I went to Avon. So it wasn't even like on my radar. So I just picked like any general class like any other freshman. But because I was in the art studio every single weekend, the art faculty was just like, Jackie, you should pursue this. Next year you should definitely pick an art class. You're doing really good work here. And I would show my drawing to my other faculty advisors, and they'll be like, wow, Jackie, this is amazing. Everyone's being super supportive my freshman year, and that eventually led me into, picking ceramic classes, architecture classes my sophomore year.
It to me, it's not surprising that like, I don't know. I was a theater kid in high school. I've taught in schools in the US, and like people love spending time with art teachers. They're like the coolest, most open-minded, welcoming, supportive people. I feel like at most schools, like around the world. So to me, it's not surprising that you ended up there. I would imagine though that perhaps, I don't know, I feel like ceramics, particularly in the US for high school students, isn't like the most popular art form. So I'm wondering, did you like immediately jump into ceramics, or did you sort of find your way there eventually through drawing and painting and other sort of creative forms? How much of your high school experience was focused on ceramics versus other sort of art?
Yeah, so yeah, that's actually a really good point. Especially for my high school, which was like an all-boy high school, ceramic wasn't really a big thing. People like to play lacrosse, like to play hockey. I guess I was interested in it when I was a little kid. Like I would go to those like ceramic pottery, shop and like do this like one-time experiments, like try out thing. But I only did it like 3 times, I think. But my freshman year, I think we did this charity event. Just make as many clay pots as possible, and like parents would come in, they would buy them and donate money, and we would raise money and donate those money to like kids in need. So that was like my first really major event with ceramic, and I just think I jumped into it and I learned really fast. There were like 10 students. I was one of the few freshmen and just picked up really fast. And like the teacher was like, wow, Jack, you have a talent for it. And and people say, oh, you have a talent for it. Of course, you'll be like, oh, I'm good at this. Maybe I should try more, So after that, my sophomore year, I started hosting the event, when I was a freshman, I was just attending. And then my sophomore, junior, senior year, I started to lead the event. And I would like make ceramic pot and combine, Chinese like calligraphy with them and give those as a gift to my teachers. I'm always very proud of like being Chinese, like the Chinese culture. We have 5,000 years Chinese culture. So I was like, when I give this gift away to my friends, it's kind of like spreading my culture, so. And that still kind of continues today, I guess, with what I'm doing. Yeah.
You studied finance and architecture design at WashU, right? So you didn't choose any career related to like what they're doing right now.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. So I actually wanted to choose a career path related to architecture. I interned at HOK at Gensler while I was at WashU, which is like 2 of the 3 largest architecture firm in the world right now. But I always had this idea that I want to create my own. When I was, first grade elementary school, I would buy these like Pokemon like circular erasers, right? And I would like carve them out. They're like circular shape, right? So I would like use a little knife and carve out the extra part and carve them into the shape of the Pokemon, right? So I would buy those like eraser for maybe like 1 kwai, like RMB, and sell them for like 5 kwai to my friend because I carved them, so I added value to it. And like I was like making money. But then like one day my teacher just called my mom and was like, yeah, your kid is making money from his like, classmate. He's only first grade. And that like ended my like entrepreneurship, my first like. So I always like the idea of like turning something raw or something that's like pretty simple, adding value to that, making it my own and sell that to like, people who appreciate it. And while I was at a large architecture firm, well, the reason I chose architecture was because I thought architecture would give me the same kind of reward, the same kind of experience. But then I got into it. I felt like there was too much compromise with clients, with like construction restriction. And one project take like 5, 10, maybe like even 20 years to complete. So I was like, I was struggling and I was trying to find something else I could do. And also after I graduated, there was a restriction on job visa for architecture student. So I couldn't like really find the ideal job I wanted in the United States. And I was like, well, it's a good time to take a break. I should go back to China because I was living in the United States for 8 years already at that point. I just feel like, it's a good time to go back, take a break to absorb what I have been missing in China for the past 8 years. If I really still love architecture, I want to do it, I will go back to the United States and maybe study like a master, go to like a master program. But at that point, I came back to China, and my first job in China was actually at a large financial like institution. But I didn't stay there for very long. I stayed there for like maybe 4 or 5 months, and I was like, this is it. I can see the future. Like 30 years from now, I'll be doing what? So I was like you're making money to buy things you enjoy versus like you're doing what you enjoy, right? So like every day, like every second of death, you're just like, oh, I'm here for the money, so I can do something I like on the weekend with the money I earned here, right? And after a couple months, I'm just like, this is not working, because like 5 days of 7 days week, you're wasting your life there. Versus you only have 2 days to live. Versus now, like I feel every single day I'm like doing what I love, So I just couldn't stand it. I feel like I have a very low tolerance for things I don't like. So I had to quit,
That's very interesting. That is where we're built differently. I feel like my tolerance for dealing with things that I don't like, unfortunately, is higher than it should be. So, I mean, you mentioned you were in the US, job situations, it was difficult. And so you decided to move back to China. I mean, you're someone who has lived in a lot of different places, traveled in different places. How do you see that like showing up in your personal life or your professional life, the influences, or how do those experiences, how are they influencing your life at this point?
Yeah, like, I mean, like, it's influencing everything I do now with my startup, because like my whole idea with IMFRAGILE is creating a useful ceramic brand that's like actually appealing to young consumers, right? Like I love ceramic. Like I would buy like ancient old like Tang Dynasty, Qing Dynasty like porcelain, but like 99.9% of other kids like my age wouldn't do that, because like the aesthetic, the lifestyle, it just doesn't fit, right? So I was like, it's such amazing craft, such a beautiful material, and it's such an important part of like Chinese history. Like Chinese people invented porcelain, and like everyone else tried to figure out how to make porcelain for hundreds of years, and they couldn't. So like we had the recipe for so long, but now Chinese porcelain is like the least be appreciated porcelain in the world. We have Germany porcelain, like American, like UK, Japanese, Korean. It's all above like Chinese porcelain now. I was like, why is that happening? So I felt like I need to bring that back, kind of in a way to make it appealing to our own Chinese, like people my age. Like we have to like appreciate it first, and then like we can spread it to the rest of the world, and people can appreciate Chinese porcelain again. So that requires in not just understanding the Chinese cultural part, but understanding what young people like, understanding what people from different countries is their lifestyle like, right? So now, for example, I'm combining porcelain with hookah, like right?
Young people love hookah.
People love hookah. So I had the fortune of like experiencing a lot of hookah while I was in college. So I know how to use it, like what kind of people use it. So I know those people, consumers, right? I would like do, one-on-one interview with those people, design product for them and sell them to Middle East, to the United, to the USA. So I couldn't do that if I didn't have the experience, of living at different places. So that's just one of, many examples,
That's cool. I mean, it's cool how the products that you're creating seem in some way autobiographical, right? Like you're putting your life into these pieces. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and you also mentioned like because you want to bring the porcelain, like Chinese standard porcelain, back to the world top level, right? And that's kind of like why you want to do this. So why you come up with the name like IMFRAGILE?
Oh, that's a very interesting story. So actually, the original name was Am Fragile. So the I am was like a short version for like I am fragile, because I was like, I don't want, because like when I was telling people, oh, I'm making porcelain, it's so good, it's so fun, they always like, oh, it's so easy to break, it's very fragile. And it's like, yeah, but why is that a bad thing, So I would explain to people, today we're so used to plastic. We live in like a plastic culture, plastic society, where like we're so used to just like using this and like very cheap thing and throw it away and kind of like not appreciate where it came from and where it goes to next, right? And that mentality is not just with product, but we also kind of see that with people now, with information. So the whole thing with ceramic that's appealing to me is that, it's a very slow and like zen and like meditative like process of making a ceramic piece, right? And I want to turn that fragility into a selling point. Or I'm proud of being fragile, like that's who I am. And I'm not afraid of hiding that. So the original name was I'm Fragile, right? But I was telling the idea to my friend David, who has been a mentor to me for the past like 10 years. I was telling him, and he's like, oh, you should. I thought it was infragile because impossible, the prefix in, I was like, oh, that's a really interesting idea. And we kind of talked about it. And now the brand name actually has a double meaning, right? So infragile means not easy to be break, right? You're like very strong. So in order to achieve strong mindset, first, you have to accept your fragility. You have to accept that some part of you is fragile. Once you're able to be brave enough to tell people, yeah, this is something I'm stuck at, this is something I'm not good at, no one can defeat you. So that's kind of the double meaning now within the brand's name. And the same thing applies to people and it applies to porcelain.
I love that.
It's very interesting. Yeah, like I listened to a podcast just this morning, and they were talking about like human characteristics. It's like people are fragile, but at the same time, we are the most resilient like creatures in the world. So I like the idea, like why I combine the IMFRAGILE together and how you came up with this name.
It's been 3 years, right, since IMFRAGILE has started. What is it like to like run your own business, to be your own boss, right? How has that like changed your life?
It changed like my lifestyle for sure. Because like before this, I was working at big corporation. You can go travel, you can like, stay at like book at nice hotels, you can fly like the flight regardless of the time, right? If you have a meeting at 11, you can book a flight at 10, right? That's reasonable. But now, like, since I started this, you have to like book the flight at 6:45. So it's the cheapest flight, right? You have to be conservative, like very calculated, like which part of the money you spend on the company, which part of the money you spend on yourself. And when you're the owner of the company, that line has to be drawn very clear, right? Because sometimes you feel like you're spending money on the company, but in reality, you're actually doing that for yourself. That has been like probably one of the biggest change for me. Very mindful of where you're putting the money at. But I also say it would be the most rewarding thing, because like if you work at a company, even if you're the project leader, you would feel like, oh, this project is for this company, is for this client. But when you are working for yourself, like if you feel like you take full responsibility, but when you success, you also feel like this is my project. Like I have done this, you know, kind of reward experience is very fulfilling, but you have to constantly like remind yourself what you have achieved. You have to set like small goals, maybe like a month, 2 months, 3 months, because like sometimes you could be working on something for 6 months and you feel like you have achieved nothing.
Yeah. Important to celebrate the small wins, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You put it perfectly. Important to celebrate the small wins. Yeah.
You mentioned in the beginning, like you change your lifestyle after you start up this company, right? Like you start with like organic food and now going back to the normal supermarket and checking the price tag on eggs, right? So like,
Right.
yeah, given this starving like artist stereotype, like what motivates you and prevents you from like giving up?
You know, like the most important thing, I thought about like giving up many times actually, right? So like this time I was like, damn, this is so difficult. I should just go back and get a job. But then like you ask yourself, if I give up now, like everything I have built up to this point, if I just give it up, like how much would I regret it, you know, like 10 years from now, 20 years from now, right? And then you'd be like, I would definitely like hate myself for giving up now. If I just suck it up a little bit, if I get over this moment, things will get better. So if I just kind of imagine myself like in the future, 20 years from now, working at a normal financial like corporate job and like telling my kid, oh yeah, your dad used to do this really cool thing, but then like I gave it up because I'm for this salary, you know, like, so like, yeah, I just couldn't accept that. So I've been stuck with it for the past 3 years, you know.
I'm curious. I mean, you're someone who's gone from selling carved Pokemon erasers to now custom, right? Your own creative, like ceramic pieces. You know,
Right.
like entrepreneurship, I'm sure in the span that you've had and what, I don't know, how old are you in first grade to how old you are now? Like 10, 15 years of entrepreneurial experience. I mean, you've touched on some of the challenges that you've experienced and some of the rewards. I guess if you think about, I don't know, I guess, do you still consider yourself an entrepreneur or do you see yourself more as an artist? Are these things in competition with each other? How do you sort of reconcile these identities that you sort of have?
I think the short answer is I'm just Jackie, you know, like I don't look at those tags that way, but like I would say I have huge respect for artists because I think artists are like every single one of them are like entrepreneurs as well. You know, you have to be able to market yourself. You have to like position your crafts like differently to be successful. So, for me right now, I kind of like separate my work into two segments. I still do like my own ceramics work, you know, like hands-on, like everything. And those are just like for myself, you know, like if I like it, I like it. Like I don't care what other people think. If you want to buy it, we can negotiate the price, right? But there's also work I do for client. And for those, you know, I see them as, you know, business projects. So you do have to compromise on those as still. But you know, as I learn more about the craft, as I, you know, have more trust with my client, as we know each other better. Now I have more and more control over the design, which is I'm really happy with now. But you know, still compromise is a reality I have to face with every day with my business project. In the beginning, I want to keep that part as the same as my, you know, my own projects. This is my work. It has to be 100%. But then you face issue with, you know, delivery date. You face issue with budget restraint. So you have to make compromise to put it on the market. So my way of dealing with that, I guess, like your question, how do I balance it is my own work. I just do them at home. It's my studio. I don't care. And then like very clearly, I separate my business project into a different part. You know.
Speaking of the art pieces you are making to sell, right? Like I think you want to the fusion of culture and creativity. So how do you infuse the cultural elements into your like ceramic designs? And what do you hope your customers take away from these pieces?
I guess like still I think the key is still myself, it's my taste, my lifestyle, like I wouldn't do something I wouldn't buy myself. Like, I guess how this whole thing started was I couldn't buy ceramic pieces I like anymore. This it's just not available on the market. So I have to make it myself, right? And once I start making those, people around me is like, oh, can I buy that from you? I really like that as well, and I posted on Instagram and clients start to come and reach out to me. It's like, oh, can you do custom work? So everything still comes from me, and it's everything. It's back to EJ's question. It's everything I have already experienced up to this point. All the places I have been to, all the things I have seen, all the music, all the food, like hookah, all the things I've done. Like, it's a lifestyle choice, right? And then I just I merge them with ceramic. I don't like to market my work as, fusion or like mix of different cultures, because it's all me, like, and I'm Chinese. So I just see it as new Chinese ceramic work. If I make something, nobody buys it, I love it, it's just my own work. It goes back to the second part of it's just another work on my studio list.
Could you maybe share with us like a fun or amusing story that has come out of like your creative process, or maybe like working with a client, or, something, or just like being in the industry, if there's any sort of amusing anecdotes or I don't know, funny stories you could share with us?
I would say like this is kind of a big moment for me when like one of my first like big client reached out to me, and he reached out to me because he saw my work on Instagram. I was posting work on Instagram like 3 years ago, and then like one day this guy reached out to me and he's like, oh, can you do custom work for me? I was like, sure. And he's like, oh, I'm like I work for Chen, I was like, oh yeah, like right, you do. And then like we didn't talk for like maybe a month or so, and then like one day he just created this like Instagram chat group. You can have like different people in this one group. And then he's like, oh, I'm adding like my business partner, like Edison Chen, to the group. And then like, it was actually Edison's account in the group. And he's like, looking forward to work with you. And I was like, I had to like double check everything. I was like, oh, it's actually his account. I was like, damn, like this is crazy. I couldn't believe it. So that was like I guess it's amusing, because I looking back at it now, I wasn't very excited. My first reaction was just like, this is not true. This is like a scam,
That's awesome,
Yeah,
right? You never know who's looking at your Instagram. To all the people out there, right? You never know who's watching your Instagram. Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's also like he reached out because he loves your like art piece. What do you post on Instagram, and he's like interested and he want to know more about your work.
Yeah. I think that's a good thing about like the Instagram community, like people like look at other people's like work and they're like, oh, like let me work with this person. Well, like versus some other app, like they're like, oh, this is a great idea, I'm gonna like steal it and do it myself, But like that's why I still like the Instagram community. I'm not sure if he saw it first or his like business partner saw it first, but then like, they reach out to me. So I guess like no matter what, it's big for me.
I know you also work with other brands like on the art pieces, right? Can you talk more about like what other things you are doing right now?
Yeah. So for my brand, I kind of see it more as a platform now, right? So like I want to work with different like artists who normally work with different materials and turn those things and find a way to combine those with porcelain, right? So originally my idea was like I had to create everything myself, but then I was like, instead of doing that, I know this craft, I know all these like amazing technique that like normally people don't know about porcelain. People just think it's white and blue. People think like, all Chinese porcelain are white with like blue like decoration on it, but there's actually like hundreds and hundreds different type of like Chinese porcelain, and people just kind of forget about. And I think my job should be like learning all those different crafts and bringing those back and combine those crafts with like different people's art style. So for example, I would talk to maybe like an oil painter and propose to him like, your work would work really well with this type of like, porcelain technique. And we can do some kind of like product together, and this will be how it's done. So that's kind of my job right now. I'm the person who turn different artists' IP or their life, their work style into porcelain work.
I'm very excited to see what comes of that. I'm wearing, not to plug this brand or anything because we don't have any sponsors, but I'm wearing, do you know the brand Telfar?
Yes. Oh, this is
Okay.
the Telfar White Castle collaboration.
Yeah, it's the Telfar. So I'm wearing it because White Castles was founded in Ohio and its headquarters is in Columbus, which is where I live. And ironically, like, so when I bought this sweater, Telfar sent like I don't know, a little note that went along with it. And it was basically like, we started out this business and like no one believed in us. And like people made fun of us because we made merch for a fast food chain, right? Because no one thinks that like a brand that is going to be a next luxury brand would ever do something like that. But the fact that he was even open to it, now he has all these like, iconic collaborations. So I'm excited for you to see like what does thinking outside of the box look like for, ceramics. Like maybe one day I'll have a ceramic phone case. That would be kind of lit. You know what I mean? There's so many things
that is actually in development right now.
Okay. Great. Yeah. Okay. I'm on your website now too. So it's so exciting to think, like you said, like I honestly didn't even know that like this is bad. I studied China. I didn't realize there was such a diversity of Chinese porcelain, right? I mean, I think like, I don't know, there's just, I hear so much good and sort of learning that can come out of this. So I'm super excited that you quit your corporate job and you're doing this.
It's not you, EJ. Like 99% of like Chinese people now just think like the Qing and like Ming Dynasty porcelain because those are the dynasty that's really like the closest to our like modern life. And people just think, oh, that's all the porcelain we have, right? But like China has been making porcelain for like at least like 4,000 years, right? So we have like all these different dynasty, all these different tribes, man, like making different style of like work. And back then, transportation was not easy. So you can only make porcelain with your local clay. And each different like location has different clay and different like plant, and all those mixed together comes out like different like glazes. So you couldn't copy someone else because you don't have their clay, you don't have their plant. So that's why it's such a diverse like range of porcelain. But like because of war, because of like recent history, everything, we just kind of forget about it. And my dream, once this startup is more stable, I want to convert like a van into a moving studio, a moving ceramic studio. And I would just drive around China, go visit like all these different ancient like Chinese production sites and like take clay from different places and make like a series of work, that represent like, and put that together into a map. That's kind of like my dream project.
Oh, if you make a map, I love maps. As you can see, I have one there and I have the other one there. Anyways,
yeah,
that's so cool,
like,
Jackie.
Like every little region will be an independent like clay, and that clay will be from that area, like the dirt from the area. So
yeah, it reminds me like why we call it 官窑和民窑, right? Like the 官窑is the place to make ceramics by the government, and 民窑is just by the local people. So it's so different. Like different places can create different like porcelains, and it looks different, and how they do it, the 工艺is different.
Yeah, the process, the temperature, like everything is different because like different clay, they couldn't hold up, and it has to be fired at different temperature, right? And some area doesn't have pine trees, so they have to use bamboo, right? So if you use pine trees versus use bamboo to fire the porcelain, the result is very different. The ashes would like float around in the kiln, and once it land on the porcelain pieces, it would like form glazes, and those glazes is very like unique. So that's why like there's endless potential with porcelain. That's what I like about it,
So you, as a trailblazer in a use for ceramics, what advice would you offer to aspiring entrepreneurs looking to merge their passion and culture into a successful venture?
I think like when you are young, it's very hard to, especially for a lot of Chinese kids. I know this, right? Because like when you are in a Chinese education environment, you're not being taught really to follow your passion. So not really a lot of kids even has the opportunity to explore their passion, right? And passion is a very, very strong word, I feel like. If you like doing something on the side while you're working, it's not a passion. Maybe it's a hobby, right? So if you work at a financial company and you like to make ceramic, yeah, that's your hobby, right? So what is passion is if you do it every single day, you fail like every single day and you still do it. That's kind of like that can be maybe your passion, you know. And even if you fail like 100 times, you still choose to do it for the rest of your life and try your very best to be at the very top of whatever career path you choose. That is your passion, right? So I would say even before that, just follow your curiosity, you know, and if you think something might work, try it out, you know. If you feel good about it, take another step forward. If it doesn't feel right, just, you know, go back and try something else, right? Just explore many different things first, you know, follow your curiosity. Don't focus too much on the short run, you know, do it for a longer period of time to really test it out. If that's really something you like to do, or is something other people or society make you think you'd like to do, you know, that's very different. So do it. Maybe don't even show it to other people. Don't even get comment, you know, just do it as if no one's watching and try it out. And that's probably what I would tell people to do before they leave like a stable job and get into like a venture. So the thing is, doing an startup is very, very difficult. Like there's going to be a moment you just want to give up. So you have to make absolutely sure that's something you would sacrifice many other things for before you get into it. That's why I advise people to test it out before they jump into it.
Thank you. So at the end of our episodes, we like to ask or give our listeners a recommendation, right? Something that they can sort of follow up on and look after this. So I'm wondering if perhaps you could give a recommendation on based off of your own journey experiences. If someone were to say like tomorrow wanted to like maybe get jump started in their artistic journey or look into ceramics, or, you know, they have a business idea, what maybe tool, resource thing might you recommend that they do, read, look at, watch?
Instagram. If you want to like get feedback, you know, share on Instagram, you know, talk to people on Instagram, reach out to people on Instagram. Right now, like with my new projects, I'm always talking to artists I like on Instagram. I'm like, hey, I really love your work. Like I do ceramic. Can we do a collaboration? You know, and like most people would say yes, you know, at least they would be open to a discussion. So that's a very good tool to use. Another thing I would say is YouTube. You know, like if you're interested in something and you are just like learning, you want to learn more about it, there's a bunch of great like free tutorials, you know, education videos on YouTube. You know, I didn't have an official like education on ceramic, right? People actually attend colleges here, like at Jingdezhen for ceramic, right? I didn't have that 4 years of education. So a lot of my initial, you know, education was from YouTube. So I think that's a very good tool as well.
Wonderful. Is there anything else you'd like to, I don't know, plug or promote, or anything exciting coming on that people can be looking out for from you or your brand or your Instagram maybe?
Cool. Yeah. I've been working on this project for the past 2 years now. I'm working on this project combining ceramic with fashion. So that has never been done before, and I'm looking to work with fashion designers. And like, if you are interested in fashion, or you buy a lot of, you know, like fashion, especially like female like fashion, like collectibles, like maybe reach out to me and we can, you know, talk and see if we can do something cool together.
Awesome. And if people wanted to contact you, do you want to share your Instagram? Where can people find you and your brand?
Yeah, like we should put a link of my Instagram, my WeChat, and my website like down below somewhere in the link maybe.
We'll leave in a comment. Yeah, so people can reach out to you. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll put that in there. Yeah, you can definitely check out Jackie on his website at IMFRAGILELab.com. So we'll definitely check that out. Thank you, Jackie, for sharing your story
Thanks,
with
Ethan.
us. So good to hear you. Jackie's story truly exemplifies the power of blending cultural experiences, artistic creativity, and entrepreneurial spirit. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate your support, and don't forget to share this podcast with your friends and communities. And please take a moment to rate, like, and leave us a comment. We read every comment, and your feedback is greatly appreciated. We'll be back with another exciting episode next week. Until then, take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.